We're here on New Romulus, helping the Romulan Republic found its new world and get things set up. Part of establishing a successful colony is securing trade routes and supply lines into the system. Sure, a planet may be rich in natural resources, that's why it was chosen as a colony in the first place, but you'll have to gather, mine and construct them, whereas it's often easier to import from off-world. However, the Quartermaster contacts us to ask us to deal with a Ferengi contractor who's been managing the supply lines, as there seems to be a problem with the flow of goods. We're to talk to Tenenga at the warehouse, and proceed from there. Upon entering, we're greeted with a familiar sight of Romulan construction, the emerald hues favoured by the people, and amid the pods and grav lifts, we see Tenenga. She informs us that the Ferengi supplier is named Madryn, a name we're already familiar with. Back in the Hafar mining facility, we encountered Madryn presiding over the Romulan refugees. He was using them as cheap labour for his business, paying them just enough to survive, but not enough to get off planet. Turns out he'd made ties with the Tal Shiar to operate a listening post within his mines. We intervened, and upon collapsing the facility, he did tell us that we'd ruined his business, and we walked away from that tough situation without really helping the colonists. Now it seems that Madryn has moved on from Hafar and continued working with the Romulan refugees, but he's hardly above reproach. Now inventory errors are leading to lost shipments, and Tenenga here can't put up with the Ferengi's business talk long enough to resolve it, so she's asked for assistance. Well, if we were just any Starfleet officer, this might actually work, but we have history with Madryn, so things are going to go one of two ways. Either he's going to be intimidated into sorting his house out, or he's going to be looking for a little payback. We take our away team into the warehouse, which opens up as we delve further in. It even has a retractable ceiling that allows for small craft to land inside a hangar to receive and send goods. Clearly this is a Romulan Republic funded structure and facility, with Madryn merely meant to play the role of management. The warehouse looks pretty well stocked, but with room to expand. So turning south, we located the Overseer's office, which provides a good view of the docks as well as spacious room in which to conduct business, replete with conference table and numerous displays. What isn't welcome are the 4 large Hirogen mercenaries.
You again? Last time I saw you, I had a sweet little mining business on Hafar, and some information brokering on the side. Now, all of that's gone. The mine, the intel, everything. I'm lucky I still have a tooth sharpener. Get out before I call security!
No can do, Madryn, my oddly proportioned friend. We've been asked to resolve some supply irregularities.
Let me guess. Lieutenant Tenenga's complaining again. I stand by my paperwork and my inventory. It's not my fault if the Romulans can't count. They don't have the lobes for business. Look, you can review the cargo manifests yourself and match them to the supplies in the crates. But I'm sure a big, important Starfleet officer like yourself has more important things to do. If you want to bother with it, though, knock yourself out. The terminals in the warehouse have the manifest, and the crates are nearby.
I'm to do this?
I'd help you check, but I have real work to do. Oh, and don't mind the Orions. They're subcontractors working for me. Lots of willing hands to help, if you know what I mean.
I really don't. Okay. No. Well, unsurprisingly, he's not willing to lift a finger to help us investigate, not when he's potentially at fault. So the Republic contracted Madryn to oversee shipping, and he used his Latinum to secure Hirogen armed guards and Orion contractors to manage the warehouse. For a Romulan facility, they have very little say on what's going on here, it seems. I wonder how much they're paying him. Hirogen generally don't mercenary themselves out, but they are a long way from the Delta Quadrant, originally introduced to the Beta Quadrant by Empress Sela in her hiatus from Romulus during their tumultuous pre-destruction politics. The Orions are far more commonly hired to work on odd jobs, not all are involved with the Syndicate in nefarious lives of crime. But is there a reason Madryn doesn't want the people he's working for to have hands-on with the supplies? We begin the arduous task of reviewing shipping manifests and looking for errors. Mercifully, this section is taken out of our hands and we don't have to spend hours following identification numbers. Once we've located a mislabeled shipment, we can investigate the corresponding crate and see what the error is. The first one we encounter is empty. The manifesto has no record of this crate being moved out, so someone helped themselves to the construction supplies without booking it, or we were sent an empty crate, though that's very unlikely. Damn it, colony construction is an arduous process where everyone involved needs to be pulling together to get results. Buildings and cities don't spring up overnight, and it's only through coordinated effort that we actually get the results we're looking for. It's an unglamorous side to the often romantic notion of pushing the frontier and taming a planet, but damn it, proper paperwork helps coordinate actions, something I'm sure everyone who's ever had to pick up from where someone else left off can attest to. Sorry, got a little personal there. Uncovering another error, a crate mislabeled as dilithium, means we're going to be in here for a while, I think. Another check and another error, this time scrap hull plating labelled as entertainment provisions. Well, I mean, I can make a pretty sweet box fort, so imagine what I could do with a box of hull. No, this is wrong. These shuttles have been in use by the Romulan powers since at least the 2370s, and as such are relatively cheap to produce, despite being almost twice the length of a Danube-class runabout. It performed the same function as runabouts though, a long-range minimal crew vessel often reserved for transport, and it can make it to warp 9.6 using the standard Romulan Singularity Drive core. And now we find a crate of old uniforms in a crate labelled Riverpig Chow. The hell is a Riverpig? And instead of industrial energy cells, we have self-sealing stem bolts. The ingenious thing about self-sealing stem bolts is that they are stem bolts that seal themselves. Truly a marvel of modern engineering. And the final crate we investigate, hey that rhymes, is empty, but supposed to contain 3 months' worth of supplies for research teams stationed at the Atli, an area just outside of the new Romulus compound. Right, I've seen enough. There are mistakes everywhere from different sources, which means that the errors are coming from this side of the delivery chain. Madryn wants to deflect this onto the Romulans, but I haven't seen a single Romulan since I entered the warehouse proper, only his hired help. Therefore, his problem.
So, you check the manifests and the crates, and they don't match up. I knew I should have gone with you. Then I could have explained that the more valuable supplies are in a secure storage unit. You can't be too careful, you know. Someone might be trying to steal something. Here, let me open the secure area for you. It's at the far end of the warehouse.
Okay, Madryn's excuse here makes no sense. The issue is that the supplies are mislabelled, emptied or just plain wrong, and he's suggesting that they're actually in a secured section of the warehouse. First off, not the issue. Secondly, what's so valuable about entertainment provisions and Riverpig Chow? Thirdly, why isn't there any note detailing the movement of these selected valuables to another section? Fourthly, shut up. And fifth, I'm not an idiot. But we check anyway, because hopefully Madryn will try something stupid. Okay, well there's a couple of crates in here, so let's just scan the area to make sure he's not telling the truth.
Couldn't just leave well enough alone, could you? I should have known. Your type are all meddlers. Now you've gone and upset my Hirogen friends, and they want to have a discussion with you. Enjoy!
Even here, he alludes to the Hirogen being the ones that are angry with us, certainly not implicating himself by saying he's ordered them to kill us. We're able to drive off our ambushers despite their use of Hirogen camouflage modules, which I don't think they possessed back in the Delta Quadrant. Though with their hunter lifestyle they may have acquired the personal cloaks from Jem'Hadar, or even tinkered with Starfleet hologram technology to produce similar effects to a cloak. But still, we can have a word with Madryn, so we'll make our way back to his office. However, more of his hired goons block our way. Once again, the 2-meter hunters use tricks of the light to elude our fire, dragging the fight out. As we draw closer to Madryn, the Orions too turn on us. Though they pose much less of a threat than the Hirogen, the battle in the hangar can escalate into a far more hectic firefight than those contained by the corridors, with the Hirogen parties joining the fray and fire coming at us from all sides, if we don't avoid drawing the aggro of more than one party at a time. So, with a restrained advance throughout the hangar, we can overcome the enemy's number advantage and avoid being overwhelmed. We deal with a final group of Hirogen just at the foot of Madryn's office, and then we're free to bag the little troll. Heading up the ramp and taking the corner, we can see that the office is empty, because of course it is. Bizarre, my Saurian tactical officer, detects a secret passage that Madryn has used, so not only did he hire security, he had an escape tunnel built. I'm almost impressed at the level of paranoia he had, but I guess when you're getting involved in shady business it pays to be prepared. Clearly, otherwise we'd have him right now. Also, I just noticed you can see him running to his shuttle through the window while we search his files. A nice touch. Well, as expected, we turn to the exit and find our path blocked by more Hirogen, and by the time we've dealt with this distraction, he's absconded in a Romulan shuttle.
I had no choice! The Tal Shiar is controlling my family! Well, they have my assets, and Latinum is like a family to a Frankie. Please, have mercy on a humble businessman!
So the Tal Shiar are still leveraging him. What was their gain here? Holding Madryn's fortune to make him run interference with the Romulan supply chain? That's pretty petty if that's all it is. I've come to expect more from the Tal Shiar. We'll have to keep our eyes open, but we'll deal with these final Hirogen first. Things go awry pretty quickly here as the Hirogen leader charges us and downs several of my crew, and while resuscitating them he's able to flank me and knock out Mark Hale. Being revived a few minutes later, we're able to pull together a victory. But this was a tough fight, especially as the hunters tend to use their cloaks to try to surround you. So you guys saw that though, right? The guy was at least 7 foot and all armoured, and he shot me in the back along with his friends. So, you know, I think we can all unanimously agree that it was not my fault and no one could have done any better in the history of fair fights. On the way out, we pass Tenenga, who seems none the wiser as to what just unfolded in the warehouse. We inform the quartermaster of what transpired, so as that all escalated rather quickly, let's recap. Madryn was hired on to manage the inventories of New Romulus, but he was being leveraged by the Tal Shiar, whom he'd got in bed with back in Hefar. Now, they have his fortune and were using him to run interference with the supply chains to New Romulus, making good on their promise to attempt to stunt the Republic's efforts. This seems like a small-scale operation from something as historically menacing as the Star Empire's Secret Service, but they have been handicapped recently by our efforts and the removal of their leadership, so maybe they're not as strong as they appear. After all, they even attempted to reach out to Titan to help him rule the Republic, an offer he refused. This meddling could be seen as a result of that refusal, but on its own amounted to little more than an inconvenience, so there must be more. During our time here, we'll have to keep one eye open for the Irregular. These smaller distractions, after all, are just cuts on their own, but they can add up, and New Romulus could still suffer a death from 1,000 such cuts. Thanks for watching this episode of the story series. A little shorter than usual, so I'm probably going to keep an eye on the length of these and may condense some of the more irrelevant details if there's nothing really lore related to talk about, and do several missions in one episode, for example. We'll just have to see how they all come together. In the meantime though, thanks for watching again, and I hope to catch you next time with the ever-expanding narrative of Star Trek Online. And until then, I've been Rick, goodbye and Jolan True.